So first off, what's your name?
I'm Lexa.
Okay, and how old are you?
I am 15 years old, gonna turn 16 next month.
Nice. Alright. So first question, do you find it difficult to navigate the world when people often associate adolescence in a negative light, such as believing the long-held stereotypes of being lazy or doing things without thinking because of hormones, etc.?
I don't think that this really pertains to me because I feel like I'm a rule follower, and I think that those do pertain to a lot of people just because teens often want to be very independent and do their own thing. And yeah, like sometimes I do want to be independent, want to do my own thing, but I know what's right for me and what I should be doing.
Comparing from when you were in middle childhood, which is ages 7 to 11, about there, to where you are in adolescence now, how do you think your understanding of how others feel has changed? Are you more aware of how other people feel, or do you notice, or do you not notice other people's feelings?
I think it is easier to feel how others feel now. I don't know how to answer this.
Well, do you think more about how other people are feeling now than when you were a kid? Like, because when we're kids, we're more, it's called egocentric. Mm-hmm. So like we think more about ourselves and our needs. And you've seen
than how other people feel.
Yeah.
Yes.
So do you think you become more passionate or like compassionate?
I think yes, because the example I can think of right now is like you learn, the more you learn, the more you know about the world. So like an example that I'm thinking about is like homelessness. You know that there are people out there who need a place to stay and are just simply living on the streets, and you feel like, I feel like myself now, I feel like I need to do something about that, or that needs to be fixed, you know, problems like that. Or even right now, how many people are losing their jobs, it makes me feel like I need to do something about that, even though I can't, but it makes me feel things for those people.
Question 3 is, do you remember the moment you first realized that your body was changing? How did those changes make you feel about yourself? And did you ask anyone about the concerns over these changes?
I don't remember when the first time I realized that I was changing, but those changes I think make me felt like, you know, I'm growing up. I'm not a kid anymore. But and I feel like when you realize you're growing up, you realize that you have more responsibilities, and that's kind of straying away from the question, I think, but it just makes me feel like, you know, we're getting older.
You just become more aware of things.
Yes.
Because of that?
Like you're supposed to, like you're obligated to become aware of things now.
But did you ask anybody also about how you felt about like anything? Like was there anything that like stuck out that when it like happened you were like, oh, is this normal? Or like, did you go to the internet instead of asking somebody?
No, I didn't do any of that.
Really?
I'm just like, I think I'll be fine.
I think I'll be fine. Okay. Did you ever like talk to your friends about it?
No. But I think like regular, like, cause we're girls, like period.
Yeah.
You know, that's like a regular thing that you do talk about with your friends.
So an imaginary audience is the concept of thinking other people around you are aware of what you're thinking or how you look. Do you have moments when you have felt like that? And if so, in what situations were you thinking that? Like you were like very in your head and like something was going on and you thought everybody knew what was happening, but in reality nobody has any idea what was happening to you. Do you have any like at least one example of that?
Probably like usually I'll wear my hair down, but then if I wear my hair up, I'm like, I don't know, like I don't usually do that. Like literally every day I have my hair up. I feel like just a small difference will make everybody notice, you know? And it just doesn't make me feel right. Like usually when I do or wear something different, I don't know. I guess, yeah, do or wear something different than I usually do, my friends will make it a big deal. That's why I'm like, I don't want to change anything because they'll make it a big deal. Yeah.
That makes sense.
I have spilt some drinks before
Mhm.
in public, and I think that's very embarrassing. So
How did you feel when you?
very embarrassed.
But yes, the core emotion is embarrassment. But did you think everybody was looking at you when you did it?
Yes, because it's like everybody's doing their own thing, and then bam, you spilled your drink, and everybody's just like, you know?
Everybody's super aware of you at that moment, and they're looking at what you just did.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to say here.
So number 5, while going through the transition from middle childhood, ages 7 to 11, into adolescence, has it become easier or more difficult to regulate your emotions?
I think that you're a lot more aware of how you feel now and how you should feel. And I think there are people around you who are trying to control you to make you feel certain things, and especially in certain environments and the people you're around, because in high school you're around other people who are your age, and everybody is going through the same thing basically of transitioning into adulthood from being a child, from being an adolescent. So I think we are more aware.
What are a couple of things in adolescence that you think have increased your self-esteem?
Okay, so since we're transitioning to adulthood soon, or in a couple years, I feel like now is the time to kind of find yourself and try to find ways to be more individual. So since I'm in speech and debate, whenever we have a tournament, we'll probably go really far out of town, maybe even be in town, but you're still without parents. You're basically on your own because your coaches are gone away doing other stuff. And it feels good because you can take care of yourself and you can take care of your team, because maybe not everybody brings money for the snack bar and we're there all day long. So you need to find ways to eat. You need to find ways to kill your boredom. And so that's kind of how you feel more individual, and that kind of raises my self-esteem, because you realize oh, I'm actually becoming an adult and can do things on my own. In debate, if we do good, it feels really good to be complimented by your coach because you work really hard and you work for a long time, many hours, and then to get a compliment, it's really nice.
So how does it feel when you have your trophies on your shelf?
It's
yeah,
nice.
You feel good about it, right?
Because it's wow, I did that,
And as a follow-up question, what are a couple of things that you think have decreased your self-esteem while in adolescence?
Adolescence. Social media. That's a big one.
Can you elaborate?
Because I feel okay, not me, but I remember the other day I was on Twitter and my friend, she tweeted, "Oh, TikTok is really making me think about my body and how I should be looking," things like that. And I was I feel like she's very confident, but that made me feel different, because I don't know, how should I say this? I don't know. That made me feel
Make you feel weird.
Because I was well, she's very confident. Why should she be feeling like this?
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, I think social media has a big part in adolescence today, because there are so many platforms that you could be on, and there's so many people who are influencers and are shaping kids today. I do have an example. I remember hearing there's this thing called a thigh gap. If you have a thigh gap, which is a gap between your thighs, then you just don't look good, I guess. And I was I had never heard of that because I don't have a thigh gap. And I was oh, I felt so out of the loop and kind of bad that I don't have one. I don't know why, it just made me feel bad, but
Have you found it difficult to understand your identity? And have you had problems with exploring maybe your cultural, ethnic, or gender identities? If so, what things hindered and what helped you find your way? Or are you still finding your way? That's totally
I think
fine.
I'm still finding my way, but I think religiously, I feel like as a Catholic person, or person of the Catholic Church, and at this age, it's hard to want to commit to religion because it feels like it's so strict. I don't agree with all the things or all the terms that come with it, but I think I still, like, obviously I still do go by a Catholic girl.
You still say you're Catholic.
Yeah, I still say I'm Catholic because, yeah, I attend church.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be doing my confirmation next year, even though I don't want to, but, like, I kind of have to.
In being forced into religion, which is part of kind of our ethnic culture, because being Hispanic, we're generally Catholic. And so do you think that's kind of, since it's been forced upon you, you couldn't really explore it for yourself in, like, your own kind of time?
I mean, I think now it's been ruined for me. Like, I do not want to explore it, like, at all, because I think it's boring, and I don't agree with a lot of things that come with it, and honestly, the way I've been taught Catholicism, like, in catechism, has been really boring, and it doesn't engage me at all.
Have there been any significant changes in your life that you believe have affected your emotions, or at least in adolescence? And if so, do you have a negative change and a positive change?
Yes. A negative, what is it called?
Just a significant change.
Oh, okay. A negative change would have to be dealing with death, especially of our grandparents who passed away in the past about 4 to 3 years.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was big because we spent a lot of time with them and we knew them very well. They were some of our close family, like the closest family members that we had. And so going through a change like that when they're not there is really weird, because there will be times when you're like, I wish I had them, you know? Certain things remind you of them. And also, like, I'm not gonna say it's not fair, but, like, it's not fair when you say, like, when you have a bunch of friends who have grandparents who are in their 60s, and you had grandparents who were in their 90s but have now passed on, and people are always talking about, like, oh, I'm going to my grandma's house or my grandpa's house, or, you know, stuff like that, and you're like, oh, I don't have grandparents, like, and sometimes you can, like, it's probably not the best thing to do, but, like, it's a coping mechanism, like, joking about it, but that's probably not the best thing to do. But, like, as an adolescent, it is a thing that you have to cope with it, or else you can't really move on and live your life. But also a positive change in my life would have to be having, like, a real connection with a best friend, because I know through my life I've had multiple, but for me, I felt like it took a little longer to, like, kind of think about who should I know it sounds crazy, but, like, who should I call my best friend? Like, it may not seem like a big deal, but, like, they're, like, the person who you talk to about everything, you know? And so I feel like finally finding my best friend this school year, well, like, I've known her for 4 years, but that's kind of the way I had to do it.
So number 9, have you ever participated in risky behavior, such as smoking or drinking, because of the influence from friends? And risky behavior doesn't have to be just, like, smoking and alcohol, but just, like, doing things you wouldn't normally do on your own because your friends were like, go do it.
Oh, okay. No, because my friends I don't, like, succumb to peer pressure. I don't think I ever have. And I've, like, trained myself to not succumb to peer pressure, especially since my friends I feel like we're in a pretty tight bubble and we know what's best for each other, and we don't want to ruin that, because we know that'll ruin each other's trust.
Have you ever had to deal with sarcasm, ridicule, or bullying from friends,
From friends.
so-called, in adolescence overall. Not just the bubble you have now of friends,
But like people
maybe,
around me?
Maybe people around you more, like classmates?
No. Because I'm a nice person. I feel like if there's somebody, even if there's somebody who, like maybe, like nobody is harsh to me or anything because I'm nice to everybody.
You're pretty unproblematic.
Yeah, I'm very unproblematic, and I know there are plenty of people who are problematic. So I don't want to mess with anybody. Basically, I want it to be paradise, not paradise, but like I just want everything to be out of my hands. Basically, I don't want to start anything.
So there are different types of friends, and I'm going to describe the different kinds that there kind of are. And I'm glad you have a copy in front of you so you can look at this as well. So there's informational support, and they often offer guidance and advice in solving problems. So there's instrumental support, which offer help on various things like homework or rides to school. That's more like physical support, I guess. There is companion support, which is a reliance on each other as companions during social activities. And then there is esteem support, which is when the support friends provide each other support by providing acknowledgement and support during accomplishments and failures. So what kind of friend group do you think you have and why? Based off of those, like what do you think is the closest to what you have?
Can I say like a mix?
You can
Or
say
just like, okay. I would say in between informational support and esteem support, because it basically.
Well, then it's esteem support, because
Okay.
informational support.
Oh, it's basically the same thing, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Esteem
yeah.
support is just a little different because they support during accomplishments and failures as well,
Okay.
not just during whenever. So, so you think you have an esteem support kind of friend group.
Yes.
So you think your friends provide all, like everyone in that friend group, acknowledgement and support. And then you're always with each other, or you're always there for each other during accomplishments and failures. So when someone needs something, you guys are like there for each other?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any like good examples of that?
Somebody, a part of my friend group, she was homeless for a little while. She was like living in a hotel for a little bit, and a few of us would, like, we would ask our parents about it and be like, oh, they need like some money, and so we would kind of pitch in sometimes to like help them get by. So we know that that's very difficult for her, and we know that she needs a lot of support, and we made her feel like she was never alone, because we know if she felt alone, then she would feel like she couldn't get anywhere with the situation, basically.
That's really good. So you guys were there for her in a
Emotionally
pretty difficult time.
Yeah,
Emotionally, monetarily, as best as high school kids can do.
Basically.
And then just probably physically
even,
when you were at school, right?
Because she can't afford everything, but we always like try our best to have her participate in things that we do. Like, you know, one time we went to the movies, and then we went to Red Robin's after, and she was like, oh, Jasmine, she was like, I don't know if I have enough to eat here. And so Jasmine was like, oh no, don't worry, like I'll pay for everything. I already asked my parents already and stuff like that, 'cause usually, you know, we have her around like all the time, so we know.
Yeah, and your parents are aware of the situation, and they obviously help. But I mean, that's really great of you guys to be there for someone to that extent.
Yeah.
That's really special, I think. And I think that also helps you when you go through something as well, right? That's really great. Do you have any like final thoughts about the interview itself, or anything we talked about that you think you could have talked more about, like gone on and on about, or?
I thought the questions were really good. There was definitely a lot to talk about. I think adolescence is very different for everybody. Everybody's going through their own thing, but at the same time we're kind of dealing with the same thing because of just how old we are, our age group.
It's just the stage of your life.
Yeah. But I think everybody's story is different.